Welcome to the Scratch and Waggle Golf Podcast. Kip and Thomas want to welcome to the show Ron Walsh. He is a Mobile native. He has grown up here. He loves this area. He has played golf for many years, and now that he is retired, he is spending his time and his focus and energy teaching and instructing the game of golf. He was certified at the Bobby Clampett School of Golf. He has also taken on a assistant golf coach role here in town at Baker High School. So he is pouring his life into our community, and we truly do appreciate that. So what you're going to hear over this episode and the next, we split it up into two parts because Ron's full of good information. We had a lot of good times with Ron. We got good information. We got lots of laughs with him, and he is going to have his email address out on the Facebook page, the Twitter page, Scratch and Waggle Facebook, Scratch and Waggle Twitter, and he has also decided to be our guy, our golf instructor, our golf coach. So we are super, super excited about Ron joining the Scratch and Waggle team. We hope you enjoyed the next two episodes.
All right, we're here with the Scratch and Waggle podcast again. Kip at the table, Thomas here, and as well we got a special guest that I'm gonna throw to Kip to introduce here in a minute.
In the schoolroom.
In the schoolroom, Lower Alabama. Again, you guys, you can reach out to us at scratchandwaggle@gmail.com. We also have a Facebook page, Scratch and Waggle, easy to find, and also Twitter, Scratch_Waggle. Please give us some feedback, topics. You can make fun of us. We got thick skin. It's fine. We'll take it. But we definitely want your feedback on the podcast. And if you got ideas on topics and things that we can discuss in the future, we definitely would like to hear from you guys. So we're here. We're excited. We even got a little feedback from Patrick, our ex-producer.
Expert. Don't call him an expert. Don't call him an expert. He's an ex-producer.
Yeah, he wants to join now that we got 35 followers. Nah, he wants to get back in. Can't do it, Patrick. Sorry. But I'm going to throw it over to Kip and to introduce our guest for this podcast.
You did good, Thomas.
Thanks.
As you guys might can tell, we've upgraded to 2 microphones, so hopefully you can hear us better than used to. We also got some feedback from our ex-producer that you could hear some water running in the background, and it sounded like we were peeing. And so that was an aquarium. Again, we're in the schoolroom. We've got two animals in here, a fish and a hamster. The hamster's on his way out, so he's dying. The kids are sad about that, but Cheryl, my wife, won't even come in the room. She's like, I don't want to see him dead. Anyway, so tonight we've got a special guest. We're excited about this. Ron Walsh is a golf instructor. He's also a golf coach at a local high school here, Baker High School. So, Ron, why don't you say hello?
Thank you, Kip. I'm glad to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with y'all tonight. So,
yeah, we're looking forward to it, man. I've known Ron now for, probably 15, 20 years, actually.
Yeah.
Time flies by. So, we've played several 4-ball scrambles, and Ron's a excellent golfer. So
I don't know about that.
Yeah, no, I call you. I was telling somebody today you're a ball striker. So we'll get into that in a minute. Yeah. But the first thing we want to throw at you is why golf? Why did you choose golf?
Yeah, that's a really good question because growing up on the Parkway, when I was in high school, we didn't have a golf team. I'm not sure we could spell golf down there on the Parkway, but it's always something different. It's like I could spell fight, and cut and shoot and that kind of thing. No, I just got out of high school, going to South, and a buddy of mine started playing. I started playing along with him, and just the bug bit me. It's just what a challenging game it is, and got to a point where I really wanted to get my handicap weight down far enough. You got to be at least a 4 to compete in any USGA amateur.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to get into that, and so I started working on my game and working with taking lessons from a couple people. Went to Ron Green when he was at Lakewood, and that tells you how long that's been.
I don't know. Before my time.
Oh yeah. Well, it probably was. It probably was. You were probably about 1 or 2 then. But worked with him and got interested in the Golf Machine, the book.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. I even took a lesson from Ron one time. I paid for a lesson for him to sit down with me and tell me how to study this book. It is that crazy. He said, okay, you don't start at chapter 1, you start at chapter 6, and you go to this chapter, and you go here, and you go there, and I'm just taking notes. So I was kind of bit by the bug on, what's going on with this club in my hand, making this ball do different things, and it was just fascinating, the physics behind it. Just, and it's always been there. And I just studied it and studied it and studied it, and so, and started getting a little bit better. And then when I get a little bit better, and I'd see my friends struggling, I was thinking, man, I'd like to help them out with a few things that Ron's told me and what I've read, and and that just leads from one thing to another, and and I finally thought, when you retire, you got to have a reason to get up in the morning,
Oh yeah.
You got to, So, what would be better than?
You don't have to be at the retirement age to.
No,
I
started teaching.
Go play golf that day.
I started teaching before I retired, but I knew when I retired, that's what I wanted to do full time. So, teaching and helping the kids at the school level, high school level. So,
Cool. So let me ask you this: you got certification, right, from the Bobby Clampett?
I do. That's the newest one.
Tell me about that.
Oh man, that's a highlight in my golf career, because I went through 2 other golf schools for teaching golf, Professional Golf Teachers Association, which I really put a lot of emphasis on that. There were some of them that I took that were a little easy, and I thought, well, if it's that easy, it can't be that valuable. So then I went to the PGTAA, took their course.
The what?
It was very detailed.
The PGTPA?
Professional Golf Teachers Association of
Oh,
America.
thanks.
Okay.
Speaking of remedial.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Okay. Well, when I took that, it was very involved as far as your studies and your testing, and they had a player ability test as well. So you took a PAT test, player ability test, like you do for PGA.
I think I remember you telling us about
Yeah.
this.
So I had to go out and shoot certain scores and turn that in. And
Was that at Timber Creek?
No, I took the PAT for the PGA at Timber Creek. I missed that by
okay.
a couple of strokes, so I didn't make the PGA.
Right, that's the one I was thinking about.
Yeah, that was a tough day. I was a three club win day on that, and I was, I guess I was 50 then, and I won't tell you what the guy, when I checked in, he's like, "What the H are you doing here?" Because there's all these 20-year-olds, there's 13 of us. And they were all 20, 21-year-old. And he looks at me like, what are you doing here? Well,
You just look straight at him, Ron, and you go, because I'm supposed to be here.
That's right. But 1 out of the 13 passed that day. And,
wow.
You played 36 holes, and I wasn't one of them. So, but it was a good experience.
Yeah.
But back to your question about Bobby Clampett, I went online and took his course, and that took me several months to complete. It's very detailed on his dynamics. I've read his book. I love his book on the 5 dynamics of a golf swing, and it's more 5 dynamics of impact, because he teaches impact. He doesn't care about what style you got. We're not going to talk about style. We're going to talk about where you are at impact, and that's where he wants to be on impact. And I really like that. Because you look on TV, you're going to see everybody's a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Outside in, strong grip, weak grips. Some of them have a good rotation through the ball. Some of them not quite as far. But if you looked at him,
I'm pointing at Thomas.
Yeah, he's pointing at Thomas for some reason. I'm not sure what the
It's
deal
all
is
right.
there.
He's lucky he got space in between right now.
Okay.
Because he's trying to embarrass me.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah. But all of them look pretty close to identical at impact. So he looked at the dynamics of where these people are at impact, and that's his teaching style. So I took that on course online. Took 2 unbelievable tests. Took me a month to do the test.
Wow.
Well, I didn't, I went that far and paid that much kind of money. I'm not going to waste it. So I'll make sure I know it. And I was one of the first ones that did this with him, but he had on his online, you look at it and it says, the next step is to go to Naples and shadow Bobby.
Come on.
For 2 days.
How about that?
But you got to do well on the test, or you're not going to get invited. So he told me, you're the first one that's been down here.
Seriously.
So I just sent him a memo and I said, hey, what do I have to do now? He said, pick a date.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
I didn't know you got to meet him.
Yeah, I went down there about 2 weeks before the storm hit, and got to shadow him and watch him teach and watch what he how he does what he does, and he's really, really good.
That's a treat.
Oh,
now tell me where I'm wrong here, but I think I remember him playing maybe in the 80s.
Yeah.
Curly headed.
Yeah.
And then he went into the booth, right? Wasn't he in the
Yeah.
booth on TV for quite some time?
He sure was.
And now he's got an academy, I guess.
Yep.
Is he still in the booth for certain
I don't know
events?
if I hadn't seen him on TV in a while. I don't know if he does or not.
That's cool though. So,
But he's got schools at like 5 different places in the U.S. Naples is one of them. Carmel, different places around the country he does.
and you got to go down to
Naples.
Naples, Florida.
Had a long drive.
Yeah.
I drove. I don't want to do it again. I don't want to do it again. I'll fly or I'll.
So did you get a selfie with Bobby?
I did.
How about that?
I do.
Well, if you'll send it to us, we'll throw it out on the
Okay.
Facebook
The
page.
best one was a selfie with his assistant.
You got that one?
What's her?
I got
What's
that
her
one.
name?
Her name is Ellen.
Yeah, we'll put that out.
She's an attractive young lady,
That's cool.
and she's trying to get on the tour, but she just had hand surgery, so I didn't get to see her
Yeah.
any shots. But
Well, that's cool. Well, one of the other things I wanted to ask you about was when you get a student, and I guess that before I get that question, have you started teaching? I mean, do you have students out? And before we get to the golf team too, have you got individuals that you're training?
absolutely.
And where? All right, so good. I thought so. But so where do you? What's the first thing you do first day? What do you start with? Do you start with the grip? Do you start with stance? Do you get a soccer ball? Do you get a tennis ball? If you get somebody, and I'll use Thomas. I'll keep picking on Thomas because he's here. But
Am I supposed to
is
be here?
Thomas is a beginner, like practically never picked up a golf club, and his brother's about to start too, right?
Yeah.
So his brother's about to start, never picked up a golf club for the most part, but they've got baseball. They might have some football. Guess that's about it. Baseball, football kind of experience. So
Yeah.
when I first saw Thomas swing, the first thing you see is he sets back on his right leg, and his wrists were collapsing. I don't know which direction that's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So where do you go with your first student? How do you assess? I guess what's
Okay.
your assessment process?
I like to think of the acronym. Now, this is not meant to be funny because it's my acronym, but I think of GAS. As in gasoline, but gas, and that's grip, address, and then you got your swing. So you start with a grip, then you tell them how to address it, and then we go to the swing, and to do the different things with the swing. That's my approach. I think,
Okay.
and it kind of helps me stay on track thinking about that. Let's get those 3 things.
Well, without giving away all your secrets,
I
what's
don't have any
what's
secrets.
the
It's all right there.
what's that? And
Yeah,
tell me did I start you on grip or did we start with something else?
We did talk about the grip, but grip was always where I went to go back to fix my swing. If I had any breakdowns in mechanics, it always went back to the grip.
Yeah.
That's what I've noticed at the driving range. So I know that's one of the first things we learned. Well, I learned with Kip was
Yeah.
grip and making sure my hands were right, my wrists were right, because I was breaking. My
Yeah.
wrists were breaking quite a bit.
Okay, flipping. Yeah.
And then I would have to catch myself because, I've always learned how to flip the wrist, through
Yeah.
baseball and things like that. So going back to learning the grip and some of those, every time I go to the driving range, I have to make sure that I'm focusing on the grip. So
Yeah.
that's why it does make sense.
Oh,
what,
yeah.
what you just said.
Absolutely. Grip, that's, grip, address, and swing,
Right.
So what's the and we're having to do this without video or visual, but so like if I hold my hand up like I'm waving like the queen, all right, how y'all like that? All right, so if I'm waving like my hand, so I got my thumb pressed against my index finger,
Okay.
so that the thumb and the index finger, but if that makes a V, so that indentation between the thumb and the finger make a V. If I told him, I said put that right down the shaft,
Okay.
and then your left hand come over and put that. So now I got 2 V's going straight down the shaft, and now you grip the club. And he's like, "What do I do? Do I interlock my fingers? I don't care. Do it or don't."
Interlock, overlap, 10-finger, whatever you want. Yeah.
And a strong grip is your right hand toward the pin. That's a weak grip.
That's weak.
Well, no wonder I can't get anything right. And a strong grip is when your right hand is behind the club.
Correct.
Okay. So, and that's where when you got a strong grip, hand behind the club, ball tends to go right.
No. If you got a stronger grip, if you're a right-hander, you would tend to hook it. You would tend to shut your club.
Because most baseball guys or at least he was doing it, Tom. His right hand was underneath, and he would hit, and the ball would just take off to the right.
Yeah.
But he was also doing a whole lot of other bad things, leaning back this way,
Yeah.
breaking the wrist down, so it might have been multiple things.
There's a lot of things it could be. A lot of things.
So the
many
grip
things.
is where you start.
I start with grip, but the grip that you're describing with the V straight down the top would actually be considered a weak kind of grip.
And
That's
all
not
right,
even
so
neutral.
what's the ball going to do with a weak grip for a right-handed golfer? Does it
Slice,
go
fade
to the right?
Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah. If you come through properly, but you could have a weak grip and flip your hands at the bottom and shut the face
And send it right
yeah.
to left.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things you can manipulate.
Properly.
To,
Are you learning from this?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, good.
Yeah. But as far as the swing goes,
Yeah.
number one, I don't care what else you do, you have got to have a flat left wrist at impact.
That's your
I don't
golf glove
care.
thing.
And that's for right-hander. Flat right wrist for a left-hander.
Yeah.
Or even bowed a little bit, a la Dustin Johnson. Dustin Johnson, you see him bowed at the top.
Oh yeah, that's what
he's
they call
bowed
that.
Here. That
And-
would be shut. I mean, that'd really be shut.
And John Rahm does that too.
Yeah,
doesn't
he does.
he? I didn't know what that was called.
Yeah.
I've been trying to do that. It doesn't work for me.
You got to have a lot of rotation
I
to
don't.
do that.
I don't. I have the same problem Thomas does.
Yes, rotation's an issue.
So that there's a lot of little things that I've noticed, and you notice people have weak grips, like Corey Pavin. Corey Pavin had a weak grip, and he didn't get a lot of shoulder rotation. So when his hands came through pretty fast.
Yeah.
And then you have somebody like Freddie Couples, just the opposite, strong grip, but he has got some kind of rotation. If you saw him from the back when he hit a shot, you would see his whole back and both cheeks at impact. That's how much he rotates.
And you're not
shot.
talking about his face either.
No. No, he's not looking backward at you, smiling. No.
Well, cool. So it sounds like we're kind of on the right track with if somebody wants to go out there, they're going to grab that club and probably grab it like a baseball bat. Mm-hmm. And that might be step one, mistake one.
Yeah.
And then and that's good. Again, I don't want to give away too many secrets there. But then do you video the training as well?
Absolutely. And I guess that's one of the things that, when I got into coaching, I even talked to some other coaches. I talked to South Alabama coach, and I talked to the University of Mobile coach, and I said, I take this seriously. I really do. I mean, the worst thing I can do is to tell them something that throws them completely off track. I mean, I don't want, if I stick to fundamentals, flat left wrist, and forward swing bottoms and, loading and lagging and that kind of stuff. If I can stick to those 5 dynamics, I can't hurt anybody, So, but I really took it seriously as far as that goes. And one of the things that really impressed me when I went down into Bobby Clampus, I was talking to one of his instructors. And I said, what do you do when you come up with somebody that's 1-2 handicap or scratch? What are you gonna look at? How are you gonna help this guy? And he told me, he said, I will film them front and back. I'll take that film home and I'll study it for a week before I ever try to tell them to do anything. And I said, hallelujah, thank you so much. Thank you for saying that.
Well, here's a question that just pops up: is if a scratch golfer, what are they trying to improve with their swing at that point?
I would say it's probably their timing, their sequencing. The sequencing is the big thing. The sequencing of, you got that little hip bump that you're getting in there, and your timing of your hips. You're starting at the ground, so you go into hips. What is your lag? Have you got really good lag? Have you got your like a 3-degree lean with your shaft at impact with iron?
Shaft lean.
Yeah.
You got good shaft lean?
Yeah, well, I really, really exaggerated early to learn, but now it's getting to that point where
That
it's
is
consistent.
great.
Mm-hmm.
That is great.
Yeah.
I made him over exaggerate.
Yeah, but that was me.
like lean.
Yeah, and you can't do that if you got a cup wrist. So
I know.
you got to have a
but
flat
I was
lip.
like, dude, you got to fix something because it was
Yeah.
bad. Ron, it was bad. We had to try.
Man,
we had to over exaggerate so much to get it. But and I hadn't played with Tom. This is confession. I hadn't played with Thomas in a couple of months.
He's scared.
So
Scared.
he says he's really good now. So I've got to go out and compete with him. But so yeah, that's interesting. And as I've played over this 2017 and saw my scores come lower, the way I got there was consistency off the tee.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know if it was just because I was playing and practicing more, but distance suddenly became non-important, if that makes any sense. Ball was getting where I needed it to be as far as in the fairway, inside 150 most of the time on a par 4, and then I was getting on the green.
Yeah.
So what would be the next important thing after you get them hitting the ball consistently? Do you take them over to the chipping green and the putting green, or do you just do swing?
No, let's go way back. If I've got a new student, before I take them on the range, I'm probably going to go chip before I even go to the range.
Okay, good. Me and you think just alike.
Okay,
because that's the first place I took him. I think
if I can get
after
you
the driver.
If I can
I
get
gotta
you,
hit the driver, Kip. Gotta hit the driver.
Yeah.
And then we
You
went to
know,
the chipping.
Go chip. If you can learn how to keep this firm and not flip, how many people have you seen go over there and chipping and they're trying to get it up in the air? They're trying to get it up in the air. Yeah.
I'm not pointing fingers. But he's improved. I mean,
Yeah.
and I pick on him all the time. But Thomas is an athlete, and within a couple of weeks or months of going to the range, doing the chipping stuff, the first time he went by himself out to Zay City, maybe the second. He's sending me a picture or a video and texting me that he chipped one in on number 13 in Azalea.
Right.
Now, he claimed it was like 45, 60 yards, something like that. Well, I
13 Azalea?
Yeah. Isn't that 13? Mm-hmm. Is that somebody knocking on the door?
Yeah.
We got to
Yeah.
pause this. What the heck? All right, guys, we had to shut down. Oh, we're back. I'm good.
All right.
We had to shut down because it's just before Christmas when we're recording this. And UPS just stopped by and knocked on the door. And but we didn't know it was UPS. So sorry for the interruption. What we've decided to do, since this podcast is going for just on 20 minutes, we're going to wrap up what we were just talking about and then make this a 2-part series with Ron Walsh here, golf instructor, golf coach. So we're going to finish out what we were talking about, and then we'll pick up on a second episode with Ron where he goes into talking about his coaching. So we were talking about the 13th hole at AC and Thomas being an athlete. And Thomas is getting a big head now. So he's all smiles. And he's not trying to attack me anymore. What I was saying is, so within a couple of weeks, he'd been to the range maybe 6-8 times before he even went to the golf course. And then when he gets out there, maybe his second or third trip, he sends me this text and this picture that he was like 100 yards, I think he said, from the green, and he chipped it in.
That's only a 130-yard par 3.
Right. So he's all excited. He tells me about it, sends me the picture, and I happen to be out there the very next day, and I get to 13, and from where he took the picture, I was like, Thomas, and I pulled my phone back up, and I was looking at the picture, and he was like 30 feet from the green.
Okay.
Still nice.
Okay.
So he was, anyway, I think he ran around the green with his shirt off or something.
I did.
So,
That's not a good picture. I'm sorry, Thomas. That's just too much information here.
They sent me home. Sorry.
yeah, he got kicked off the course after that. Well, cool. Well, let me throw it back to you. Based on what we've talked about so far, if you've got students, the other thing we want to give you an opportunity to is how do you have a website? Is it just a local thing? Are you okay with people contacting you via email?
Yeah. Well, they can call me on my phone. I've got some cards. One thing I will tell you on giving lessons that Paul Martino out at Magnolia has been gracious enough to let me do this thing out there. But he has pros that's their livelihood, so I don't want to step on them. But I don't take pay for what I do. And I told Paul this, I said, I take donations if you want to donate, and anything that I get donated to me goes to St. Jude.
Awesome.
Oh, man.
That's what I do.
That's cool.
So Paul said, hey, knock yourself out.
Knock yourself out.
So, it's a way of giving back and enjoying
I'll tell you what, we'll talk off mic on how to get in contact with you.
Okay.
And then we'll put it on the Twitter and the Facebook,
Okay.
like an email address or something.
Sure.
But that's awesome, man. Thanks for that, Ron. Yeah. Appreciate that. And we've talked about doing a tournament.
Yes.
And having a charity. So
that'd
that's
be great.
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I tell you what. Let's wrap this one up. Again, our Facebook page is Scratch and Waggle on Facebook. Our Twitter account, I think I finally learned how to say it. It's @scratch_waggle. If you want to ask Ron a question, because he doesn't know this yet, but he's our official golf instructor guru guy. It's going to come back around every now and then.
Do as I say, do, not as I do.
Yeah, he's going to come around as much as he wants to provide some information, instruction. So our email address, scratchandwaggle@gmail.com. So again, guys, thanks. We'll be back with part 2 in a couple of days, but not really because we're about to start it now. Right? All right, guys, thanks.